Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. So, Tesla is on the cusp of solving full self-driving. Even many of the skeptics are changing their tunes, because all the pieces are now coming together, from compute power to data collection to fleet size to the internet connection good enough to handle all the data Tesla's cars are sending to them overnight every single day. And Tesla now has an autonomous system running all of this. And no, they no longer have to solve every edge case because they're solving intelligence. Tesla is about to solve it and get a kind of a monopoly on robotaxis, and is about to unlock the biggest value creation the world has ever seen. So let's check it all out and let's dive right in. Tesla could get a monopoly on full self-driving for quite a few years before anyone catches up. Firstly, to solve a true general solution for full self-driving, you need to solve real-world AI. As many of the skeptics would say, the reason why full self-driving will never be a thing is because there are an endless amount of edge cases, so you can never program for all of them. That's true, and that is also why Elon came to the conclusion a couple of years back the only way to solve full self-driving was to solve a big piece of real-world AI, and that would be AI vision. An AI system that didn't have to learn all edge cases, it just needed to be intelligent enough so it understand the world around it and knew what to do in every scenario, just like a human does. We have not experienced all edge cases, but when we encounter a new scenario, we do understand what needs to be done. And an AI system will work the same way. The system will have learned and experienced a lot more edge cases than any human on Earth has ever experienced. But the trick is still to make it intelligent enough to understand what to do in basically any scenario it will encounter. So that is why Tesla has been building out their compute power as crazy to handle all of this data coming in from their fleet of over 6 million vehicles to make their system truly intelligent. And Tesla themselves said that they would hit 100 exaflops by October 2024 from this chart they showed us. And as you can see from this chart, it says a top 5 of computers in the world beginning of this year and 100 exaflop by October. But as Brian just explained to Herbert from Brighter with Herbert, this chart is already outdated. Tesla has already exceeded 100 exaflop because Elon commented on this chart saying this was not correct. If counted correctly, Tesla would be number 2. So he basically saying that Tesla does have over at least 30,000 H100 CPUs. And that would mean that Tesla has at least 30,000 of these GPUs that Tesla has 120 exaflop right now. But Brian expects Tesla, and XI of course, to get to where they can make Grok 3 happen, and that is why they need to buy 100,000, as the wait time is also down to 6 weeks according to Brian. So Brian expects Tesla could maybe hit close to 800 exaflop by the end of this year, as the chips are available. And Elon said that AI compute are increasing by 10x every 6 months. This is what he means and why Tesla is no longer compute constrained, as they are already way above their target of 100 exaflops. So we might get some more news about Tesla's one-of-a-kind data center they wanted to build by the end of this year, as it seems Tesla is all in and getting as much compute power as possible. And remember, Tesla does have the megapacks and the solar power to make these data centers the most energy efficient data centers on the planet. And we did also get some kind of confirmation on X, according to Chris Chang, that confirms that Tesla has bought over 100,000 NVIDIA H100 chips. So this purchase by Tesla is confirmed by a source at NVIDIA, and NVIDIA's H100 have 4 petaflops of compute. So the 100,000 NVIDIA's H100 is 400 exaflop of compute. But at the earnings call, we did get some more confirmation on all of this, as we could see that Tesla already has installed over 35,000 H100. So it seems like Brian Wang was right once again, as he usually is on future prediction on stuff like this. No matter what, they are way above their original target of 100 exaflops by the end of the year that many didn't believe they will get to. They will probably get to something 8 times as much as this. So now that they really have the compute power, they want all the data they can get their hands on to get the last few steps up the ladder to true full self-driving, as they have the right architecture now, as Elon also explained at the earnings call, with AI controlling the car. So there is no longer any local maximum they are hitting. It is all about getting enough data through the system. So that is why Tesla gave a 30-day free trial for all Tesla owners in the US to full self-driving version 12, to give everyone a little taste of Tesla's full self-driving capabilities and then take it away again. It's like giving a little taste of a drug and then cutting them off when they're hooked, but telling them all, don't you worry, we will give you a great discount. And Tesla has lowered the price of the full self-driving subscription by half, to only $99 a month, and even lower the price of buying the software for your car from $12,000 to only $8,000. So Tesla is really trying to get as many as possible to get full self-driving, so they can get the huge amount of data from their fleet driving on full self-driving software. And we could see in the earnings deck that that is exactly what has happened, as we can see the amount of miles driven on full self-driving version 12 has exploded, just as their compute power. And don't forget, Tesla is also getting a lot of data from the entire fleet where the system is driving in shadow mode. But the best data is, of course, when the car drives itself. So Tesla has all the compute power they need and is now also getting all the data they need as well. So in my opinion, it is really only a question of when, not if, they will solve it. But when we see all that Tesla is doing and know that you cannot solve a general solution without solving a big piece of AI, and to do that you need this kind of compute power and this amount of data, well, then it becomes very obvious to me anyway that Tesla is completely alone in this race, because Tesla is the only one that actually has a business model where they don't lose billions of dollars on training and developing their AI to drive the car. As we can see with Cruise and Waymo, that is still bleeding money, billions of dollars every year, even though they already have robotaxis on the street. And they don't have millions of cars collecting data. They have 100 or a couple of 100 cars, and every car they have costs them something like at least $150,000. So for them to get to just 1 million cars collecting data, it would cost them about $150 billion to make a fleet like that. As you can see, their business model is simply just not possible, and that's only 1 million cars collecting data. Tesla already have 6 million cars collecting data, and Tesla has actually earned money on getting those cars on the street. So just getting to the same kind of scale as Tesla has today would basically be impossible for the other guys, as they don't have $150 billion to spend on every 1 million vehicles they have to build. Then comes all the compute power they have to buy as well. There is just no chance in hell that anyone else comes close to what Tesla has created here. And I believe that Tesla has what is needed to create an AI system that is intelligent enough to drive better than us humans and be able to handle any edge case that comes along, even if it has never seen it before. And if you haven't seen the discussion Bill Gurley and Brad Gerstner had about their experience with V12 and the thinking behind if this is it, I highly recommend you to check it out, because they get it. They understand that this is Tesla's ChatGPT moment and no one can compete, but is also very good at explaining it.
I think one of the most fascinating things about this story of Tesla and FSD 12 is when you understand where they get the data. So they are tracking their best drivers with 5 cameras, and the drivers know it. They've opted into the program, and they upload the video overnight. And so, talk about the pieces coming together. We've found Reddit forums and stuff we can put links to in the notes where users are Tesla drivers are saying they're uploading 10 gigabit a night, and so you had to have the Wi-Fi infrastructure.
Totally.
Like how would it be possible to upload that much? Here's someone whose Tesla uploaded 115 gigabyte in a month, right? And so these are massive numbers, and the infrastructure 5 years ago, your car couldn't have done this. And I think we'll talk about competition in a minute, but who else has the capacity to do this, right? It's unbelievable to the footprint of cars they have, and then the notion that we could just go upload this data, and it is a buttload of data that's
right.
Coming
And even with this architecture, so you just do the math, 5 million cars, 30 miles a day, I think 8 cameras on the car, 5 megapixels each, and then the data going back 10 years, right? This amount of shadow data, you could combine the clusters of every hyperscaler in the world, and you couldn't possibly store all of this data. Right? That's the size of the challenge. So what they've had to do is process this data on the edge. And in fact, I think 99% of the data that a car collects never makes it back to Tesla. So, they're using video compression, these remote send filters, they're running, neural nets and software on the car itself. So basically they, for example, if 80% of your driving is the highway and there's nothing interesting that happens on the highway, then you can just throw out all that data. So what they're really looking for is, what is the data that is a long way away from the mean data, right? So what are these outlier moments? And then can we find tens or hundreds or thousands of those moments to train the model? So they're literally pulling this compressed, filtered data every single night off of these cars. They built an autonomous system. So before, they would have engineers look at that data and say, okay, what have we perceived here now? How do we write, this patchwork code? Instead, this is simply going into the model itself. It's fine-tuning the model. And they're constantly running this autonomous process of fine-tuning these models. And then they're re-uploading those models back to the car. Okay, This is why you get these exponential moments of improvement, right? That we're seeing now, which then brings us back to Bill, this question. Tesla has 5 million cars on the road. They have all this infrastructure. They are collecting this data. We know they're a couple of years ahead. Think about Waymo, for example. They're still using the old architecture. It's geofenced. I don't know. They have 30 or 40 cars on a road, and they're only running the. So do they have any chance? Does Waymo have any chance of competing or even adopting this architecture?
It's such an interesting question. And by the way, just on one quick comment on the previous thing you said, it's genius actually that they've taught the car what moments it should record.
Exactly.
And so they mentioned to us an example of anytime there's, obviously a disengagement. So a disengagement becomes a moment where they want the video before and the video after. The other thing would be any abrupt movement. So if the gas goes fast, or if the brake is hit quickly, or if the steering wheel jerks, that becomes a recordable moment. And the part I didn't know, which they told us, which is just fascinating. People with LLMs have heard, about reinforcement learning from human feedback, RLHF, and they've talked about how that could make it, even with Gemini, they said maybe that was what caused that. What we were told is that these moments where like the car jerks or whatever, if it is super relevant, they can put that in the model with extra weight. And so it tells the model, if this circumstance arises, this is something that's more important and you have to pay extra attention to. And so if you think about this corner case, these corner case scenarios, which we all know are the biggest problems in self-driving, now they have a way to only capture the things that are most likely to be those things and to learn on them. So the amount of data they needed to get started was this impossible amount of data with the millions of cars. And now the way that plays to their advantage is they're much more likely to capture these more severe, less frequent moments because of the bigger footprint. And so you say to yourself, you ask the question, I don't know who could compete. It certainly couldn't. If let's make an assertion, if this type of neural network approach is the right answer,
yes.
And once again, Occam's razor seems that way to me, then who could compete? And one of the companies, or several of the companies who would be least likely would be Cruise and Waymo and these things because they just don't have that many cars. And their cars cost $150,000. So if they wanted to have, like, the math just doesn't work. You can't build the footprint. And so who could? I don't know.
So I think Tesla is on the cusp of solving full self-driving. I think no one else is close. So I really think Tesla will have almost a kind of a monopoly on full self-driving cars because this is insanely difficult. And I think when Tesla has solved it, most others will just give up, as they probably know they will never be able to do what Tesla does, as they can't even get to a robo fleet that is needed to collect the data. And remember, the other OEMs can't even do an over-the-air software update to solve any software problems in the car, as they are not software companies. So how the hell should they ever be able to create AI when they can't even make great software? And are you seeing GM, Ford, Volkswagen, Toyota buying up a 100,000 H100 CPUs from NVIDIA as Tesla is? No, because they don't have the data to feed this beast of a data center that Tesla is creating. So we can see the others are not even trying. And Cruise and Waymo are going down the wrong path to a dead end, as their model is not scalable in any way or form, from creating the data or the cars or mapping the entire world. This will never happen. So yes, the others are at least a decade or two out with full self-driving, so I think they will just give in when Tesla has solved it and just buy access to Tesla's AI software and put it in their cars, as Elon also confirmed again at the earnings call that they are still in talks with an OEM for licensing their full self-driving software, and others will follow, just as we saw with the charging network, or they will just die even faster if Tesla suddenly has this technology. Every other car on the planet will feel completely outdated, like a horse carriage. So if they still want to be able to sell some cars in high volumes, they need Tesla's life-saving software in their cars one way or the other. Because this will be a winner takes most market, just as we have seen in any other software market. There is one controlling most, and then we have a few other players with a much smaller market share. And the others are not ready for this, and some don't even believe in it. So just as I said before, when BYD's CEO was out saying that he doesn't believe in full self-driving cars as it is too complicated, well, to me, that means that BYD will grow and become a very big automaker, as we are watching them do right now. But when the world suddenly becomes autonomous, as I believe it will, I think BYD has a very important choice to make, because they think in the future, where Tesla has solved full self-driving, they will still be able to sell millions of horse carriages. I think they are badly mistaken. They will either have to buy Tesla software or go out of business. And we will see an example of a company riding the wave of one disruption, the electric car, but as this is not just one disrupting hitting us, but multiple disrupting hitting us all at once, well, if you're not on all of the waves of disruption coming, you might end up losing anyway. But BYD's CEO is both clever and aggressive, so I think they will quickly pivot when Tesla shows the world they have solved it. But there is of course a chance that they won't, and then I think BYD can fall just as fast as they have rised. But I could even see a scenario, because Tesla will kind of get a monopoly on this technology, that the government will step in and force them to share this technology, as Tesla will be able to show that their software in their cars and robotaxis are 100 times safer than a human driver that easily gets distracted and fatigued on long drives. The government wants to implement this on a global scale to save about 1 million lives a year. And to the people that think it will take long with regulators to approve this, well, Tesla has just confirmed at the earnings call what I have been talking about for many years now, that this will take on like a virus, because we already have cities today in the US that allows autonomous driving. So Elon even thanked Waymo and Cruise for kind of paving the way. So Tesla will just start there, proving this to the world, and then we can see all the data on how much safer it is, and other cities will follow quickly, and then the rest of the world. no matter how this will play out, there is no doubt that this will be the biggest value creation the world has ever seen and will bring in trillions with a T to Tesla. There really isn't a race for a general solution for robotaxis. This is a one-horse race, and that horse is called Tesla. And the race is already over. The others just don't know it yet. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.